Hey, what's up everyone? Eric Rossi, the guy with the eye here, and today we're going to talk about something interesting, something that you might know but not know what it means. What am I talking about? We're talking the reciprocal rule. Can't believe I said that right in the first shit. So there's a lot of videos on YouTube and a lot of tips, blogs, tutorials on how to get the most sharpest images in the entire world. Well, there's a lot of options out there for that reason. There's also one main rule you can follow to be at a very safe bet to get one of the sharpest images that you can as well, and that is what I mentioned as the reciprocal rule. What does that entail? Have you ever heard of just someone saying, hey, you shouldn't have your shutter speed over the length of your focal length? Once again, this person says you shouldn't have your shutter speed as slow or, as low as your focal length. So what do you mean by that, though? What this person is saying that, say if you're shooting at 70 to 200, you have a 70 to 200 lens, you're shooting at 70 millimeters, to be safe so you don't get any kind of camera shake, any kind of external movement or anything like that, your shutter speed should not be slower than 1/70th of a second. And that's just really a general guideline, that's what's taught, but all in all, that is the reciprocal rule. You don't want your shutter speed to be inverse of what your focal length is of the lens that you're using. I'm gonna give you a quick demonstration. Let's take this knife for example. Let's examine it. It's rather small, and I can hold it easily. There's no shake on it. There's no nothing. It's very easy to handle. So think of this kind of as a prime lens. But let's move on to something bigger. This is a spatula. It's a little bit bigger. Picture it more of maybe a little bit more of a zoom lens, a 70 to 200. But as you see, it's a little bit longer. It can tend to, flail out more at the end. It has a little bit more flex and everything. All right, let's just get serious with a real lens. The good old 70 to 200 is probably one of the most prime examples of what this rule's for. And it's basically, if you're shooting at 70 millimeters, your shutter speed shouldn't be below a 70th of a second. 200 meters shouldn't be below 1/200th of a second, and that's because there is a lot of extra weight on this compared to normal lenses. Now, if I had a, 35 1.8, 50 1.8 prime lens, you're gonna be able to handhold that more. I don't have another camera to show this right now. You're gonna be able to handhold that a bit more, and it's a lot easier. But if you're something like this, of course it's still easily to handhold, but there's a little bit more flex, there's a little bit more weight to it, there's a little bit more that goes into it, and that's where you get more of the camera shake. And so you're really trying to get the most sharpest images possible, lessen the exaggerated movements that you get with longer focal lengths, and that just gets worse with all the other options, 400, 2.8, all that kind of stuff as well. But that's why they have tripod mounts that you can use these on. You can use the collars, you can use monopods. That's why a lot of people sports do that, because if you see them doing one big thing like here, it's not going to be the steadiest thing in the world because those things are massive. So all in all, it is only a rule, and I always say learn the rules and then break them. I've preached that for a couple of years now, and I think it is a safe bet to go, because 100% of the time, if not 99% of the time, if you follow the reciprocal rule, you will not get a blurry image for the most part, as long as you're doing something reasonable. So if you got a 70 to 200, if you got a 50 millimeter, don't shoot below 1/50th of a second. I mentioned that a lot of times already. It's a safe bet to be at because of your focal length that you have. Once again, it's a rule. Break it once you know it, once you learn it. But if you want to try and get the most sharpest optimal images, using the reciprocal rule can be one of the biggest tools and rules that you could have to achieve that. And to really wrap that quick tip, that quick rule out, and it really just depends on what you're shooting as well. If you need faster subjects, if you need to track faster subjects, if they're moving, you're gonna need faster shutter speeds. Like if someone's running or if something's happening, you're gonna need over 200, 250th of a second. But if someone's just standing still, here like me, you can get with a lower shutter speed, maybe 1/80th, 1/60th, whatever you can hold, and you can kind of go around the rule a little bit like that. So keep in mind, it's just a way to get a sharper image by using that reciprocal rule, and it really just depends on what you're doing. Is there a lot of movement? Is there something where it's just more stagnant and more stale, like a talking head or a portrait? So keep it in mind, that's a rule. Hopefully you knew about it. If not, you know that there's a name to that little shutter thing with the lens.